Yes, I am taking my time. Do I really need to say my fucking name again? Do I need to? Do I need to keep this video stalling as much? So after 2002, we get not that much new material from Tank. At least from Algy Ward and Cliff Evans and Mick Tucker. And even if there would have been an album that featured Algy Ward, Cliff Evans, and Mick Tucker, there would still be a different drummer, because obviously they play musical chairs with these fucking guys. They just seem to come and go and never really seem to stay. It's not like with the Brabs brothers. So as years passed, Algy Ward ends up, even though there was talks of a new album in the mix, or at least in writing, it was going to be called STURMPANZER, and that's what people were expecting. But since Algy Ward ended up having health issues, who knew what it would be for the band? Would the band split? Because obviously, when up to recent years, it seems like it's kind of gotten worse, maybe, for Algy Ward. Who knows, maybe better. I haven't really kept up as much with his health status. But would that mean that STURMPANZER would not get finished? Would they just split up? Or would they just go... Or would they actually go under something else? Who knows? By the time of 2008, 9, 10, whatever, we end up hearing that Tank is going to be putting out a new album, at least by 2010. And by the time I knew about this, it was called War Machine, which I thought, wasn't the album supposed to be called STURMPANZER? And then I see the lineup. No Algy Ward, which I really thought, didn't Algy Ward form Tank? Didn't he? Back in 1980? Instead, I see the lineup. Cliff Evans, Mick Tucker, Dave Cavill on drums, who was actually of bands such as Deeds, which the band Deeds actually had Richie Faulkner, who's now the guitarist for Judas Priest, and also played with I think even did some backing vocals for the late Christopher Lee on his stuff. Well, one of his. And the other bass player is Chris Dale, who was bands of such as Autumn Seed and Bruce Dickinson, to name a few. But then there's Doogie White, who's the lead singer. Doogie White originally sang for singing Rainbow for a little while, or that fucking Richie Blackmore Rainbow album from 1995. The only album that featured Doogie White and Richie Blackmore. Which I kind of thought, it's like, still, how come Algy Ward isn't with the band? Then I end up reading, which obviously later on, if you haven't seen my video of the Flame Wars, you'll know why Algy Ward is not featured on this album, or even other albums which we will get to. It's because Cliff Evans, Mick Tucker decided to pull a fucking dick move when it's like, probably, why would you, and the move that they pulled was, it's like they pretty much said, oh, Algy Ward is sick, fuck him, we're gonna go on tour anyway, and since we're booked for other shows, let's just go under the name Tank. Completely dick move. Why would you do that to a person who's having health issues? Why would you do that? And end up getting some other fucking guy to sing who obviously nobody gave a shit about. This video is gonna be long. Oh, this video is gonna be long. We were gonna get to this, and fuck. You want to talk about a album that just seems to do everything that's not supposed to, that doesn't seem to go right. War Machine gets released on October 25th of 2010. I never got to hear it because at the time, until I think it was last year, actually it was back in 2014, 13, who knows when I heard this album. When I finally did, I was completely like, whoa. Because I've heard that it's not as much of the old Tank sound. Then again, Cliff Evans, Mick Tucker came in right when Algy Ward wasn't playing that punk-infused style of metal. Anyway, hell, they even came from that that group of new wave or British heavy metal bands. Mick Tucker was in White Spirit. White Spirit had a bit of a deep purple sound. Cliff Evans was in some other fucking bands that I never really heard. So obviously, these guys become more the melodic side of things, more like Iron Maiden and such. So, of course, you're not going to expect something close to Phil Towns, or even to some extent the Still at War album. It's more closer to me the more melodic stuff from Tank's era, like the This Means War, Honor and Blood, and of course the '87 album. However, is it done? Is it well executed? Well, I can tell you this. For the second time I heard this is the reason why I put it under the revisiting series. It's because I haven't touched this album in quite a long time. And there's probably now good reasons. It's a boring album. There's just, everything about it just seems so uninspired. Half the time it's like I'm listening to every other new wave or British heavy metal band that I've heard. There's riffs that I've heard be done before, especially the songs such as Phoenix Rising. It sounds so much like every other new wave or British heavy metal band I've ever fucking heard in my entire life. And of course, when we get to Great Expectations, it sounds like Weapon. It sounds like, again, every other new wave or British heavy metal band that I've heard. When I was reading the sort of biography that was placed in the booklet for the box set that I have, the guy who was writing it said that Tank were one of the more one of the great songwriters, and pretty much said that when he was talking about the new wave of British heavy metal era, he said that it was a little controversial because he had bands that were definitely great writers that had something unique about, and you had pretty much the rest that just were copying other bands and other bands. This is pretty much that. It's copying every other fucking band that I've heard. And sometimes I like the new wave or traditional heavy metal bands, but sure, there's some that are kind of gonna copy some of the other ones, but there's some that actually end up pulling off a great performance, almost adding something a little different to it, something that makes them sound like themselves. Here, with Cliff Evans and Mick Tucker, they sound like almost every other fucking band that I've heard. That's bad. Let's not forget about Doogie White's vocals. He sounds like the love child of Ronnie James Dio and Biff Byford. That's what you end up. Hell, there's some moments where he's copying the hell out of Biff Byford, making it sound more like Saxon. Hell, while I was listening to this, I almost felt like taking the disc out and just putting on a Saxon album. Hell, if you want to hear Saxon at all, definitely go listen to Saxon. No, go listen to Battering Ram. It's a much better album than this fucking boring, uninspired piece of crap. Jeez. The only moments I ever liked about the sound was the title track. There's some parts in that song where I can see Algy Ward actually pulling off his emotional side. You know, I remember hearing some comments saying that this isn't the type of style that Algy Ward was singing, it's more power metal. Okay, I can agree with that, but there's some parts on here that actually seems to kind of continue that sound of Tank. But with Algy Ward on vocals, it makes it sound like every other band that I've heard. It's like no wonder Richie Blackmore ended up ditching the guy. He sounds like every other vocalist that I've heard. Making the sounds like it's... what other song on here that I can say is a standout? There really isn't. And if you got the... sure there's some songs I liked, but with Algy Ward, it makes it so uninspired. It makes it very bland. It's like the egos really just... The egos were flying on this album. You can tell that Cliff Evans and Mick Tucker were trying to cash in on the Tank name. It's like, here's Algy Ward who's at home, who's dealing with health issues, who's now also pissed that his band got overridden by two guys that he thought were his friends. It's like... Just imagine, and I wanted to say this for over a while now, imagine if Mickey D and Phil Campbell, right during Lemmy's health issues, his really bad health issues, decided to pull off the most biggest asshole move and decided to ditch Lemmy Kilmister and just go under the name Motorhead and decided to get fucking Paul Di'Anno on vocals. And I'll get to another scenario when we get later on. And it's still gonna be with this scenario of Phil Campbell and Mickey D screwing Lemmy Kilmister, which luckily they never did, which is why they get more respect than these two douchebags, which are Cliff Evans and Mick Tucker. And of course this video is going to be a rant out video. What else can be said about this album? There really isn't. It's a very boring album. Oh wait, if you had the Japanese copy of this album, you would get a re-recorded version of Honor and Blood. Oh my... And even that was fucking horrible. They butchered it. Every bit of that song was butchered. And we'll get to more butchered songs along the way. What a horrible piece of shit that they released, and no wonder Algy Ward is pissed, and I'm on his side all the way. War Machine, more like the dumb. I don't know. I can't come with a fucking good comeback. You know what? Actually, I wrote the track listing down here. I'm gonna come with some puns. Judgment Day. This band's Judgment Day will fucking come. Feast of the Devil. Oh, Algy Ward's gonna get his feast. You know who the feast, you know who the fucking dinner's gonna be. Phoenix Rising. Phoenix Rising out of this band's asshole. War Machine. I got nothing real to say. Great Expectations. No great expectations with this fucking band. After all, this is a piece of shit. The Last Laugh. Algy Ward is indeed gonna have the last laugh. World Without Pity. World Without this band. My Insanity. You know whose insanity it is? It's Algy Ward's Insanity. Dead Man Walking. Actually, it's gonna be Dead Men Walking. Piece of shit album. All I can say. It's not that very good. I was on at first this is the reason why I plan on revisiting. I want to revisit the album to see if maybe it can hold up well. Well, it's 2016. This album was released on October 25th, 2010. It does not. There's no staying power with this album. It's boring from start to finish, with some little bit of sort of good here. And we're still gonna move on. If only there was hope within the Evans-Tucker Tank If only there was some hope. Anyways, this is Every Fashion saying I am out, and I will, who knows when I'll be back with the next installment. And it's gonna be fucking War Nation. Expect that. I can't wait for that fucking album to listen to. I can't wait to revisit that. Anyways, later.